Good morning, everyone. This is Mila. Today, I'm reading Chapter 13, Neurodegenerative Disease. Carol's mother turned 80 in August of 2001. Art lovers around the world celebrate his birthday, but especially those in McAllen, Texas. Carol, who would become a legend, started as an actor in Salzburg, Austria in 1994. After the Second World War disrupted career for a time, Carl returned to film, and in 1951 he starred in Wagner der Liebe, the first of the more than 60 films. Among his most notable is The Last Bridge, which won the Gold Palm Award at 1953 Cannes Film Festival, as did the French production Rififi the following year, now considered a classic. American audience will be best remembered Carl as Captain Lindemann in Sink the Bismarck, or as Peter the fish cook in The Kitchen. Despite his success on film, Carl's first love was painting. Texture and depths become fascinating to him as the characters in a movie, and to Carl, color spoke the words of life's drama. The canvas became the stage upon which the artist displayed his passion. One day, Carl recognized this same position in the heart of another painter, Wellman Laughter, who became his wife in 1978. They left Europe for America, the land of opportunity. They dreamed big dream and moved to the heart of Texas. Life was good, and both artists produced an impressive body of work until 1988, when Carl's life was forever changed. Carl was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. The illness rose dark on the horizon of his or Wilma's future and threatened to rob them all of they lived for. But for Carl, change has never been synthesized with lack of success. Predictably, speech became increasingly more difficult for Carl, and his ability to work declined dramatically, but color and drama still danced for his eyes, driving him back to the canvas day after day. In spite of unknown future, Carl would paint as well as he could. Some days he felt as though he was swimming through quicksand. Carl's body became the largest obstacle of his life, but challenging was nothing new while recalling these early years. The painter remembered the rigidity, one hallmark of Parkinson's disease, that was present even years prior to his diagnosis. Carl's strength was will simply had to outmaneuver the limit of his body. He pushed on the continued to paint at torrent pace, producing more than 1,500 paintings between 1990 to 1995. Through traditional medication help initially, by the mid-90s, the artist was essentially wheelchair-bound, so he never stopped painting. In summer of 1999, Carol consulted me to see if nutrition could offer any help. Following my recommendation, Carl started a potent antioxidant minerals tablet along with high-dose grape seed extract and coenzyme Q10. After 6 months, Carl noticed some recovery in the movement of his tongue, and he able to get up and walk for a short distance. I decided to increase the amount of grapeseed extract. He reported back to me that he was now able to get up and down to walk about 20 times each day. His physical therapy also helped, and his overall strength began to improve. The most exciting thing for Carl was the fact that he was able to continue to paint. When he painted, he could forget about the Parkinson's disease at least for a while. Most would look at Parkinson as the artist's worst enemy because its significant affect muscle movement. But Carl continued to show his work at some of the nation's most competitive art shows. In September of 2000, he won first place in 2D mixed media at a highly regarded Plaza Art Fair in Kansas City, Missouri. In March of 2001, at the Bayou City Art Festival in Houston, he again received Best of Mixed Media 2D. In honor of Carl's 80th birthday, Vernon Wickerbach, curator of collection with McAllen International Museum, wrote, "Carl, you see the beautiful and thought-provoking in ordinary things, and through your artwork, you impact your special insights to those around you. As a human being, I'm awed by the beauty Carl communicates through art. As a physician, I'm amazed by the fact that he is still able to paint at all, let alone communicate through the media of arts and compete at the highest level of his craft. People respond strongly to his art," says Carl's wife, Wilma. This is what he believed for. When he's absorbed in his work, Parkinson's disease ceases to exist for that moment. It's just him and the painting. Not only is Carl's wife to tribute to his character, but it speaks of the empowering result of nutritional medicine. The legend of Carl Moner is still alive today. Oxidative stress and the brain. Have you ever threw out your ability to think? Thinking about thinking, now there's a concept. When you reach back into your memory banks and recall a vivid childhood experience or that special moment with your family, do you ever marvel at how you can remember even some of the small details? Stop reading for a moment and take a look at your window. Have you ever considered with amazement your colored, wide angle, binocular vision? This is all possible only with God's marvelous creation, the brain. The brain is our most precious organ because without its full function, we humans simply exist, unable to relate to the world around us. My mother died of aggressive brain cancer that affected her ability to interpret speech and speak. It was the most frustrating time of my life because she couldn't understand what we were saying. When we told her we loved her, we all got was in return was blank stare. Her own words were garbled, made no sense at all. Needless to say, protecting my brain has definitely become a priority. It should come as no surprise to you now that even the brain's central nervous system, our nerves, peripheral nervous system, are not out of the reach of oxidative stress. This common enemy has been strongly implicated in a variety of diseases that weaken devastating damage on the brain and nerves, known as neurodegenerative disease. Some of these including Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's disease, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, multiple sclerosis, and Huntington's chorea. In fact, there are several reasons why the brain and the nerve are especially vulnerable to oxidative stress. Relative to this size, the brain experiences an increased rates of oxidative activity, which creates a significant number of free radicals. The normal activity which various chemicals create to establish nerve conduction is a major producer of free radical. The brain and nerve tissue contain relatively low level of antioxidants. Millions of non-replicable cells make up the central nervous system. This means that once they are damaged, they are most likely dysfunction for life. The brain and the nervous system are easily disrupted. A small amount of damage in critical area can cause several problems. The brain is the most important organ of our body. Our thoughts, emotion, our ability to reason and communicate with the outside world are all in danger if something damages our brain. How can we best defend this most precious asset? It is not just a matter of trying to avoid the devastating of neurodegenerative disease, but first and foremost is the matter of protecting our ability to think and reason. Aging of the brain. Oxidative stress is leading cause of aging process. Nowhere is the evidence for this concept stronger than when it comes to the actual aging of brain. Several scientific studies have shown oxidative damage to the mitochondria, the funnel of the cell, and to the DNA of the brain cell. This can lead to the malfunction or even the death of these very sensitive brain cells. As I have pointed out, brain cell does not have the ability to regenerate themselves. So, as we lose more and more brain cells throughout our lifetime due to this oxidative damage, the brain simply does not function as well as when we were young. In medical terms, that leading to what is called loss of consciousness. In late term, this is to decrease our ability to think or reason. Therefore, oxidative damage to our sensitive brain cell is the greatest enemy to the functional of our brain. Aging of the brain is essential, the first stage of degeneration of this very important cell in our body. Just as we don't contract other degenerative disease out of blue, people don't just wake up one day and have Alzheimer's dementia or Parkinson's disease. This disease represents the end stage of oxidative damage to the brain. They are merely part of progression that begins with the aging of the brain. When eventually through brain cells are damaged, a disease manifests. When a patient is first diagnosed as having Parkinson's disease, more than 80% of the brain cell, in particular part of the brain called substantia nigra, have already been destroyed. The same is true for someone who develops Alzheimer's dementia. This neurodegenerative disease have actually been developing over a period of 10 to 20 years. Let's look at some of this disease individually. Alzheimer's dementia. Alzheimer's dementia affects more than 2 million Americans, and it is major cause of admission for nursing home. Alzheimer's patients not only don't know what they is, they don't even recognize their own family. Nothing is more devastating than losing the ability to think. Anyone who had a deal to Alzheimer's dementia with his family understands just how tragic it is. If you have a loved one who's suffering from Alzheimer's, you appreciate the fact that this is ability quality of life, not the quantity of life, which most of us were concerned. I have treated hundreds of Alzheimer's patients over my career. I have seen them live 10 to 15 years of their lives isolated mentally from their family and friends. As I am writing this chapter, former President Ronald Reagan celebrated his 91st birthday. Suddenly, the new media report that he has not made a public speech more than 10 years. The passage of another birthday become an empty and painful event for those suffering from Alzheimer's dementia and their families. Numerous studies have presented evidence that clearly demonstrate free radical damage as the cause of Alzheimer's disease. Recent fund by researchers at Case Western Reserve University conclude that increasing oxidative stress with age most likely occur for all aspects of Alzheimer's disease. Strong evidence exists that patients with Alzheimer's have significant depleted level of antioxidant in their brain as well as high level of oxidative stress. This is now great interest in the therapeutic benefit that Alzheimer's patients could receive from antioxidants. The New England Journal of Medicine reported in April 1997 a study showing that high dose of vitamin E could significantly decrease the progression of Alzheimer's dementia. Patients with moderate Alzheimer's who took 2,000 IU vitamin E in supplementation were able to remain at home an additional 2 to 3 years longer than the control group member who took a placebo. It is not hard to realize the cost saving, not to mention the peace of mind each family could enjoy by postponing nursing home care for any length of the time. Other clinical trials in which patients with Alzheimer's dementia use various antioxidants such as vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, zinc, selenium, and rutin, a bioflavonoid antioxidant, have been showing encouraging. Parkinson's disease. A stool postured, slow volunteer movement, rigidly, and a pole rolling tumor that causes the hands to move back and forwards in rolling actions. Characters Parkinson's disease. Public appeared by Muhammad Ali have made us all more aware of the effect of this debilitating disease. These incubants are the reason Carl's story is so profound. Unbelievable, Carl's disease is much more severe than Ali's, and yet he is still able to paint. A wide variety of studies support the role of free radical as the underlying cause of Parkinson. The actual cell death, approximately 80% in the area of brain called substantia nigra lead to decreased production of dopamine, a substance that allows the brain to function normally. Studies indicate patients with early Parkinson's disease who received high-dose vitamin C, vitamin E were able to slow the progression of their disease. They actually avoid taking any medication for their disease for approximately 2 years longer than the control group. Glutathione and acetylcysteine, both antioxidants, were also effective in protecting the nerve in the substantia nigra for further damage by the oxidative stress. Multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis affects about 200,000 Americans and is about twice as common in American women as in men. Unlike Alzheimer's dementia and Parkinson's disease, in which the brain cells are actually damaged, this disorder affects the myelin sheath, the insulation around the nerve. This breakdown of myelin, called demyelination, results in impairment of the function of the nerve. It is like an electronic wire that shorts out because of a breakdown in the insulation around the wire, and it is responsible for the clinical symptom of multiple sclerosis. Dr. S. M. Levine proposed in 1992 that the hydroxyl free radical found exists within myelin sheath cause multiple sclerosis. Other investigating have documented the fact that oxidative stress was significantly higher in patients with MS during a flare-up when compared to MS patients who were stable. MS, different from the other neurodegenerative disease, is that the mechanism of injury to the central nervous system and the peripheral nerve is the immune system, rather than outside toxin. When one's own immune system attacks the myelin sheath, this creates oxidative stress that then damages the nerve. Multiple sclerosis responds amazingly well to cellular nutrition. There is no doubt in my mind that, unlike Alzheimer's dementia and Parkinson's disease, in which irreversible damage has been done to brain cells, the body does have the potential to repair damage to the myelin sheath. Place MS patient on patent antioxidant is critical. In an attempt to slow or even reverse Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, or Alzheimer's dementia haven't yet used antioxidant to their full potential. This is true for a couple of major reasons. First, I said earlier, by the time a physician is able to diagnose Alzheimer's dementia or Parkinson's disease, a significant number of cells in the brain have already been destroyed. We just don't start treatment soon enough. Second, we are going to see any success in decreased risk or delaying progression of neurodegenerative disease. We must research the effect of antioxidants that cross over into the brain easily. Third, for patients with a disease like multiple sclerosis, we need also using antioxidants that are going to be more effective in getting into both the brain and the nerve. Researchers are not yet studying antioxidants that are smooth pass through what is known as the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier. The brain needs a barrier that separates from the blood to permit complex nerve signal. The blood-brain barrier is the second lining epithelial cells that are present in the small artery that course through the brain. The lining is designed with very tight junction, which made the crossover of nutrients into the brain cells particularly difficult. Important nutrients needed by the brain actually have specialized transporting protein available, allow them to cross this barrier. At the same time, toxic substance, infectious organisms, and most other nutrients have difficult passing through this barrier. This keeps the brain isolated with only these most essential nutrients able to enter. Much like a medieval castle surrounded by water and a high walls enter in a drawbridge. So our brain also has significant protection from the danger of the outside world. God created this amazing defensive barrier for the protection of this very sensitive area of our body. So you wonder, what has gone wrong in the cause of aging of the brain neurological disease? The neurology department at the Rimbin Medical Center in Tel Aviv conclude that as a result of today's environment, the brain is exposed to significant increased amount of toxic, such as heavy metal, those antioxidative stress. The antioxidant defense system is no longer complete effect in protecting this vital organ. They believe that additional antioxidants, which particularly needed to be taken in supplementation, have the potential for diminish or maybe even prevent the damage increased oxidative stress cause. They warn, however, that the antioxidant must be one that can readily cross over the blood-brain barrier. Let's take a look at each of the important antioxidants needed to protect the sensitivity cell in our brain and how well they traverse the blood-brain barrier. The right antioxidant for the brain, vitamin E. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble antioxidant, which is very important in the protection of the brain and peripheral nerve cells. Vitamin E is able to cross through the blood-brain barrier. It does have some difficulty. Researchers have used very high dose of vitamin E supplementation in order to increase the level of vitamin E in the area of the body. Therefore, vitamin E is an important antioxidant protecting the brain cell that probably does not the best one in this situation. Vitamin C. Vitamin C can concentrate in the tissue and the fluids around the brain and the nerve. It's able to pass through the blood-brain barrier, and in fact, vitamin C levels are 10 times higher in the tissue than in the plasma. When you realize that vitamin C is not only a great antioxidant, but also has the ability to regenerate vitamin E and glutathione, it has become very important nutrient in protecting the brain and the nerve cells. Dr. M.C. Murray's report a study showing that vitamin C and vitamin E given in supplementation to a normal patient over the age of 65 actually decreased their risk of developing Alzheimer's dementia. This was a small study and larger, more aggressive study needed to be done. Glutathione. Glutathione is the most important antioxidant within the brain and the nerve cell. But this nutrient is difficult to absorb from oral supplements. and its ability to cross the blood-brain barrier is not yet clear. Some studies using IV glutathione have shown significant improvement in patients with Parkinson's disease. However, this study involved only a few patients. The best strategy at the time to supplement the nutrients into the body needed to make it its own glutathione, N-acetyl-L-cysteine, niacin, selenium, and vitamin B2. You can also need to have those antioxidant nutrients available that regenerate the glutathione so it can be used again and again. Vitamin C, alpha-lipic acid, and Q10. Alpha-lipic acid. The medical community is realizing alpha-lipic acids more and more as an important antioxidant. It is not only both fats and water soluble, but also has ability to readily cross over the blood-brain barrier. It can regenerate vitamin C, vitamin E, intracellular glutathione, and Q10. Another important aspect of alpha-lipic acid is that it can attach itself to toxic metal in the brain, help eliminating them from the body. Heavy metals such as mercury, aluminum, cadmium, and lead have been implicated in increasing the risk of developing neurodegenerative disease. These metals tend to deposit themselves in brain tissue because of the high amounts of fat concentrated in part of the body. This metal causes a significant increased amount of oxidative stress, are extremely difficult to remove from the central nervous system once they are there. Antioxidants not only are patent but also have the ability to help remove this toxic heavy metal and will become increasingly important in the prevention treatment of the disease. As a side note, I believe it is wise to eliminate the use of products such as deodorant, cooking utensils that contain aluminum. When you realize the heavy metal actually increase the amount of oxidative stress in the body, especially the brain, you will want to decrease your exposure to them. I anticipate that over the next several years we will hear more and more about mercury toxicity, how it too can cause significant damage to the brain. I will encourage everyone, but especially those with children, to avoid getting mercury amalgam filling in their teeth. If you ask your dentist about possibility alternative to those mercury amalgams, he does have much safer option. Don't run out and have all your mercury filling removed. Though, if this is not done properly, it may cause more harm than if you just leave them alone. Coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10, as you will recall, it is a very potent antioxidant as well as one of the most important nutrients for the production of energy within the cell. Clinical studies have shown that oxidative damage in the mitochondria, this is where Q10 works. It is an important aspect in development of neurodegenerative disease. As we age, the level of Q10 in our brain nerve cells decrease significantly. Q10 may be missing link in the prevention of disease like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's disease. However, further human clinical studies are still necessary. How well Q10 passes through the blood barrier has not yet been fully evaluated. Grape seed extract. Studies show grape seed extract cross the blood-brain barrier quite readily. It is exceptional potent antioxidant, and the mere fact that high concentrate can be obtained in the fluids and the cell of the brain and the nerve tissue, make it ideal antioxidant for the brain. My experience shows that this nutrient is a major player in the amazing results I have been seeing among patients who are suffering from neurodegenerative disease. I believe it's by far the most important optimizer in this disease. It is obviously one of the antioxidants that researchers should use further in study involving this disease. Protecting our most precious asset. Everyone desires to maintain and protect the ability to reason and to think. In fact, losing the ability is probably the number one fear of most patients. When a person forgot where he put his key or can't remember this neighbor's name, he often comes to my office feared he was developing Alzheimer's dementia. As we age, we will all have this concern at once or another. I do not have a fear of dying because of my faith to Christian. To be absent from the body is to present with the Lord. But after practicing medicine over 3 decades and see so many disabled patients, I do live with a nagging concern of being crippled in my body. I have patients with Alzheimer's dementia who do not recognize their spouse or kids for more than a decade, and yet their general physical health is still good. Walking through a nursing home and you will understand why I am so concerned. The principle of optimizing your own natural antioxidant defense system is the paramount when it comes to protecting the cell into our brain against our common enemy, oxidative stress. Remember, we must focus on prevention and protection because once a brain cell is destroyed, it's not readily replaced. There are 2 main concepts to keep in mind if we are able to have any effects on decrease in incidence of this serious disabling disease. First, we must use a cocktail of antioxidants that will work in synergy while readily cross over the blood-brain barrier. Second, we need to avoid any excessive exposure to the heavy metal I mentioned and other toxins in our environment. Balance is the key, and we must work on decreasing our toxic exposure as well as build up our body's natural defense system. I believe the cellular nutrition program that I present in chapter 17 will help the individual who is healthy accomplish this goal for brain health and preservation. If you are already concerned about declining your brain ability to remember things or having a strong history of Alzheimer's in your family, you may want to add some additional nutrition that I call optimizer. These are those antioxidants are known to cross over the blood-brain barrier readily, such as grapeseed extract. See chapter 17 for more details. Or if you are especially concerned, consult me at my website www.nutritional/medicine.net. Russ stories. Russ is a cowboy who seems to have walked right off the screen of an old western. His love of horse goes hand in glove with his love with the sport of roping. And he's good. Western competitors cringe when they see Russ ride into the arena. They know he's tough competition. For years, Russ was one of the best. He cleaned house at the South Dakota Jackpot. But a few years ago, Russ began noting numbness in his leg. At first, he was not too concerned. But then the numbness spread up to his hips and eventually his lower back. The cowboy finally made an appointment with his doctor, and after many tests, he received the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. Russ was devastated. I don't know if cowboy cried, but they can sure be a stubborn a lot. This roper wasn't about to give up. He would literally get on his horse, unable to feel the bottom half of his body, and participate in team roping events. Rose now admits it probably wasn't the smart thing he's ever done, since his balance in the saddle was significant compromise. But he had to keep living, and roping was his life. It was about this time that Ross began looking into additional therapy for his MS. He heard me speak at a local meeting, and soon after began the nutritional supplement program I recommend to my patient with MS. With months, he began to feel better. The numbness and weakness in his leg began to improve. Today, about 3 years later, Russ began that he has fully recovered. The strength in his leg is back to normal, and he has absolutely no numbness in his leg and feet and lower back. He's back to roping and again feels safe in the saddle. No doubt, his fellow roping competitors are back to cramping when Russ pull up to the rodeo grounds. I have witnessed a number of near miracles recover from multiple sclerosis. I have personally involved with several MS patients who have gone from being wheelchair-bound to walking, and I have several other MS patients who have stabilized their disease with the use of nutritional supplements. Granted, MS is more than a neurodegenerative disease. It's also an autoimmune disease that doctors have been able to treat by enhanced immune system. In fact, physicians are now using beta serum and Avinex, which is actually interferon, drugs known as help improve the immune response. Nutritional supplementation with potent antioxidant minerals and Q10 grapeseed extract and essential fat basically do the same thing. However, they don't have all the adverse side effects. Again, I always encourage patients to continue to take all their prescription medication along with their supplement. Some MS patients do improve so much they discuss going off their medication with their physicians. It is quite obviously that the proper function of our brain, our nerves, is an essential aspect of our health. And we now realize that the main enemy to this central part of our body is oxidative stress. Since brain and nerve cells have a very difficult time regenerating themselves, it is paramount that we protect these sensitive cells from being damaged in the first place. It will take years of study to prove beyond a shadow of doubt that supplementing our diet with potent antioxidants that readily cross over the blood-brain barrier can effectively protect us against this horrible disease. But I believe the evidence available in medical literature is strong enough now to advise my patient to supplement a healthy diet with antioxidants at ultimate level. Such a regimen can only help. Thank you so much for listening. Next chapter, I will be reading Diabetics. See you next time.